Hey guys, Moose here. Welcome back to another episode of Planetbase. I've gotten some decent input about how to handle the ice planet, which is frustrating, but it seems clear that I pretty much just have to suck it up and build twice as many solar panels, because I am correct that wind is terrible and not really a viable energy choice, which is, in my mind, that's a design flaw, I think, from a gameplay standpoint. If it was an intermittently required resource, it would be no problem. Even if it was something that, like food, where you could kind of afford to wait a little bit, like you could stockpile it easily enough that having it go up and down is not such a big deal. Fine, but with power, it's just, it doesn't work. Power is all or nothing, and if you don't have it, you basically just can't do anything, I think. So there's very little reason to ever willingly not have it, I guess. So that's frustrating, but what are you going to do? We're getting new colonists. I'm a little bit hesitant. That's a little scary. We're not doing that great right now. Like, we're sustainable, but where do we go from there? It's a little spooky. If this is coming to the solar panel, we're alright. Yeah, okay. Kind of poor timing for it to be finished, but whatever. If we run out of power tonight, it's not the end of the world. We have some food saved up, so. Alright. I'm glad to see that more resources are being made. We need, I think, 3. Yeah, so we need 2 more. Trading ship. I suspect I'm not going to have anything to trade, yeah. Okay. Trading doesn't take off until later, I think. Power storage low. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's not surprising. So basically, the special challenge of this place is just, hey, you have to build twice as much power. Which is kind of dumb, I think. Like, maybe that's a little mean, but it's really just irritating. It's not actually, like, harder, because you just take longer to expand. It just, like, screws with the balance of it a little bit, so you need more of a particular type of structure and less of other stuff, which, like, okay, fine, but that's kind of... It's a little bit on the pointless side, isn't it? I guess I just don't understand why I care? Maybe? I don't know. Like, it's not really making the game harder or anything, you know? Now, the way that you would do it is if you wanted to make the game harder, you would have... What would it be? You would do like a heater. Yeah, you would do a heater. And then you'd have to like manage the temperature of the colony. And you'd basically have an oxygen... You'd have oxygen things do some of it so that you don't have to worry about it early, but then later on you'd have to have a heater which would use a lot of power. And then don't mess with power, I guess? I don't know. Or give us like a... What you would do to make this more interesting on the ice planet, you'd do like a fission or fusion, it doesn't really matter which, but something. I think one of those can take hydrogen, or it's the hydrogen reactor, and then you feed it water by, in effect, ice. So you can just build it and it would like dig into the ground or whatever. And that would generate a bunch of power, and then the offset would be that you need to use a lot more of that power to heat the base. And you could do it 2 ways. You could have a separate thing that would be a heater building on its own, or you could do oxygen generators also Well, first off, any kind of hydrogen thing could generate oxygen because you say, well, it's water and we're taking the hydrogen out, so now you have oxygen left. So that's, you could do that. But then you could also you could have, not from like, oh, this makes sense from a chemical standpoint, but you could have oxygen generators also generate a small amount of heat, just enough to get you by early, and then also have a separate heating building. And I think that would be good. Basically, you'd be for balance reasons to have the oxygen generator do it, but then you could also do it from fluff reasons, because O2 generator should be passing air through it. Like, it should be like almost a ventilation building, right? So you would have heat would be kind of the same thing, right? Typically you move heat around with air. Heated air is how you transfer heat, aside from just having heating in a particular area. So that would be one way to make it different without just being pointlessly annoying like this, where it's just, oh, power's harder. But it's not really harder, it just takes more resources, which you just get to the point where you're stable, and then now, okay, you have twice as much downtime as a result of power waiting for resources to build up. Which isn't really what I would call fun. It's just more waiting. Which doesn't really do anything to improve the game in my mind. It's just more time to put into this, which, fine, whatever. It's not my game, I don't own it, I just see opportunity. Like, this is the core of it. I think this is a good game. I think you have a lot of potential here for a really enjoyable game. But there's too many choices that they made from a design standpoint that kind of unnecessarily hurt it, I guess. Like, I could sit back and turn my brain off and enjoy this game, and I genuinely, I would have fun. And I am having fun playing it. I don't want to suggest that I'm not. I am enjoying this. But at the same time, if I look at this and I look at the design and I think about it logically, and I think about it okay, well, what does this choice mean for the player? There's a lot of things that are just sort of like, no, what are you doing? Why would you do it this way? That doesn't make any sense. So I think both of those are important. I think it is really important to say, look, I'm saying a bunch of negative things about this game and saying, oh, this is dumb and that's dumb and this is dumb. And those are all valid and true. And it's important to hear that, I think, because if you're watching this and maybe thinking about buying this game, that matters to you. That's very important. It's important to be an informed consumer. But at the same time, does that make this game unplayable? Absolutely not. Does it make it bad? Yeah, in some respects, definitely. I think it's bad in the sense that there are things about this game that are completely pointless and offer nothing but negative impact on the player. But at the same time, I can enjoy it. I'm having fun playing it. So is it really bad? Probably not. No, I don't think so. Not really. It's bringing me enjoyment, and that's really why we're here, right? More than anything else, so at that point, what do I have to complain about? It could have been better. If a game could have been better, does that make it bad? I kind of don't think it does. I think it doesn't make it bad. I think it just means it could have been better, which, fine, but, who cares? So, I don't know. It's a weird situation. I hope you guys kind of understand what I mean by all this. It's interesting. Okay, we're running out of food. Fantastic. Good thing I'm trying to build the biodome next, but bad thing, I don't have any freaking metal because we have to build so many extra power plants. So first thing first, no more colonists. We're already overpopulated, so let's just put a hold on that. I don't think we're at the point where people are going to die, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility that could happen. I think we go for this. try to get that rolling, get a little bit more metal being made. I definitely need it. Yeah, there we go. And then we begin the expansion. Trading ship. Does it make sense to buy anything here? I don't really... I think we try for it. I think that's worth doing. Because we have to wait for the iron anyway, or the metal anyway, so why not kind of mitigate our food situation slightly? We can just do that. Not that we really need another bioplastic processor, but let's just, you know, let's try to be smart here. Make sure we have the capacity if we need it. This kind of capacity we're not going to get punished for. It's the one type of capacity that you get punished for is food, which makes no sense, but that's the way it is. So don't ask, I don't have an answer. I don't know why it works that way. It's not a deliberate choice for it to work that way. I think that's just like because of the way they did the AI, that's just the way it plays out. I don't think they were trying to make it work that way. Because why would they, right? Doesn't make any sense. So it's just a side effect, unfortunately. It's a really nasty side effect, but that's part of life. I'm worried that they're sending... Oh no, they're fine. We're doing fine. Don't need to worry about it too much. There's all our food. I just have to hope that we're running out of food slowly enough that that's going to be fine. But if we're lucky, one or two people will die and we'll be fine. I think at this point we're not at risk of a complete die-off because we don't have enough people for it to implode like it did in that last save. So I think we're fine, but we may have like a couple people starve, and that's probably honestly kind of acceptable. It's not great, but it'll not kill us, I guess, is the right way to put that. Yet, anyway. It may lead to a prolonged death, but I kind of doubt that. I think we're probably going to be okay. Just not great. Yeah, and this is sort of where we get to the point where, you know, maybe this wasn't designed. I don't know. Is this an issue that we have in every game? In every town builder? Does it always start slow? And is that always a problem? How would you... Okay, so what would you do? The way to do that, the way to mitigate that is an issue, I think would have to be that you would... I don't know, it's weird to balance. So the one thought that's crossed my mind right now, if you're going to do anything to mitigate this issue and make it so that there's more to do, you give the player some mechanic by which they can micromanage something in order to expedite progress. So what you would do is say, okay, well, if you're the player and you're really just waiting for metal right now, which is what we're doing, maybe there's a way that you as the player can staff one of those machines. And, you know, there's some, like, little mini game that you play through, and that, if you beat it, then it gives you, like, a unit of iron. Or a unit of metal, rather. And they let you work on it, you know? Maybe that is the way to do it. And then, you know, you can't do that on any meaningful scale later in the game, but you can, and it doesn't make sense to do it because you have other things to worry about later in the game, like expanding. But at this point in the game, it gives you the ability to kind of hurry things along, one, but also more importantly, it keeps you occupied during these moments where there's kind of nothing for you to do. And I think that would be a beneficial design choice that would help kind of mitigate this sort of an issue, because there's two problems with it. There's one problem is going slow, and the other problem is that the player has nothing to do. Those two problems can be solved together. You can let the player, like I said, micromanage something in order to mitigate this kind of an issue. And I think that'd be kind of interesting. I think you could do some really interesting stuff with that, potentially. Anyway, let's do onions, mushrooms. What are we growing already? We're doing lettuce and tomatoes. Onions and lettuce, so we should do tomatoes. And then radish. Don't ask why I put them that way. I don't really have an answer. Right now it's really just like getting enough up and running. We don't want to go too crazy because we know that issue. If you have too many for the people you have, it'll just not work for no reason. But I think it'll be okay. It's hard to tell if we're running out. Like, some parts are running out of oxygen, but others aren't. It's a little strange. Yeah, we're running out of food. That's okay. Like, we're just barely running out of food, I think. We're a lot closer than we maybe have any right to be. Anyway, this is good. We're using up a lot of bioplastics, so that'll give our metal a chance to catch up. And in the meantime, do that. And then, like, potatoes, maybe? Sorry, I got a cough real quick. There we go. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Okay, someone died. I don't really care about that. But that's the kind of thing you have to think about when you're designing something like this. You have to think, okay, well, where... You're not necessarily thinking about, oh, that's a cool mechanic, or, oh, that's a blah, blah. You think about, okay, well, we have the game. The game is, you know, we have the idea of how it's going to work. If you're playtesting this, it's important not just to playtest it to see, oh, there's a bug here, I need to fix that. It's, where is the downtime? You don't want to overburden the player. You don't want to give them too many things to do all the time. You can have certain points in the game that are hectic, where they have a lot to do and they need to do it quickly, and that's fine because you can pause this. That's not a problem. And even if you couldn't, kind of a good flow of gameplay typically I think involves that, where you have quiet moments where you're letting the player collect their thought, kind of learn and see how things work, and then you give them the hectic moments where, okay, now you need to execute, you need to apply what you've learned about the game's language or how the game works, like something they need to do quickly. Yep. Here we go. More food issues, unsurprising. Are we running out of power? No. Okay, it's just like a tint because of the sky. But part of playtesting is identifying when you have those slow moments. You should be identifying, hey, okay, in the early game there's kind of nothing for the player to do, they just sort of have to wait. And if you make like a slightly wrong decision, like letting too many colonists in, as we have here, you wind up having these issues where, like, I can't react quickly to this. There's kind of nothing I can do once I've made the mistake. They're just dead. So what do I do? And the answer is you can't really do anything. You just kind of have to hope for the best. It's a good trade. And we're doing what we need to do to resolve the problem, but we don't really have an appropriate time frame in which that we can actually do anything here. Like, there's nothing we could have done to avoid those starvations. Like, maybe right when I loaded in, I could have just closed off the landing pad. I should have done that earlier. But it's not really easy to tell when you have too many people for the amount of food you have. It's not totally clear. More people are dying. I think our biologists are not dying, so that's a good thing. Yeah, it can be hard to tell. And it makes this whole situation kind of troublesome, I guess. Yeah, more people are dying. That's not a good thing, but it's kind of tolerable, I think. Yeah, we have 42% biologists, which is what we want right now. That's sort of where we want to be. Anyway, that minor setback here, but I think overall we're in a good spot. It's just sort of this weird, like, really delayed action, trying to, okay, I'm going to do this to rebalance it and make sure that we have, I'll try to manage it this way. And it's hard to tell when, there wasn't really good feedback from the game, like, okay, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? The game doesn't, great, now we're out of order. It doesn't really communicate when there's an issue and when there isn't an issue. It doesn't do a good job of showing me, okay, well, you did this wrong, so you need to adjust. The reaction is very much delayed. So, we're learning. I think this won't kill us, it'll just cause some problems. Definitely cause some problems. But we shouldn't die. Oh, now we might die, because we don't have enough workers to get... Okay. Water's back. Like, we're at a point where if too many people drink from the tap, then we run out of water. I'm gonna cancel these. Because that's gonna use more water, and we don't really have that, like, luxury right now. We need to be very careful. But I think we're okay. I think we're starting to stabilize here. People's moods need to recover, and they need to eat. We just kind of need to let it run for a while, but we're in okay position. The next issue we're gonna have is that we don't have spares. So I'm gonna have to figure that out next, but that will be in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you'll join us for the next one as well. If you did enjoy it, feel free to come by twitch.tv/electronicmoose. Wednesday, Friday, Sundays is schedule. 6 to 8 p.m. PST is the time. If you'd prefer just to watch videos here on YouTube, I appreciate that all the same. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.